Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Bandrowski. I'm going to be presenting on mobile learning, implementing a SMART strategy. I'm part of the Learning and Human Performance team here at CTC. One note about some of the technology that I'm going to be focusing on here is that all of the technology is available for transfer to non-commercial organizations. And I'll talk a little bit about that further later. We see mobile learning as being part of a broader approach, an approach that has a need for rich media training, as well as a need for support for the 508, Section 508 community, those that have disabilities and need accessible content. We also see a need for training that is in support of low bandwidth environments on ship in the field. We also see a need for mobile, of course, and I'll talk more about that. In addition, in many cases, we see a need for text reference or print versions of the training, as well as support for classroom experiences, instructor-led training. And also, some of the same content, we see a need for podcasts, informal learning, where videos and other content can be used in different ways, in more of an informal way. So we see this need, and we think of mobile as part of a larger approach, possibly, part of a develop once and publish many ways approach using single source content. That doesn't mean that we can't develop custom mobile training, but many people invest in their e-learning, spending tremendous amount of resources and time with subject matter experts to build excellent e-learning, and we think that in some cases it makes sense to make that accessible via mobile devices. And so we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. So develop once, publish many ways using single source content is our approach, and we're going to try to support these different communities, making it accessible, making it support low bandwidth, informal, mobile, print versions, and instructor. This is an example of rich media content that we developed for healthcare training, and it would be interactive in a flash format with various learning assessments and check on learning and opportunities to interact with the content. Rich media, it's based on an XML structure, and given that it's XML, we can take that XML and use it to transform to other formats. And so taking this rich media format that is sort of our target initially, and then transforming dynamically for the accessible version for the 508, Section 508 community. So what this does is, by just toggling via a radio button that's available to the person that is using a screen reader that may be blind, they can access the toggle and switch to a HTML5 format that's lightweight and is totally interactive, so they get the equivalent experience, equivalent content, but transformed dynamically on demand and totally accessible via screen reader. So they could switch back to a rich media version as well. This same lightweight version supports not only the 508 user, but the low bandwidth needs out in the field or on the shipboard. The XML can also be transformed to mobile formats, and so, as we mentioned, we see mobile as being part of this approach where the investment is made in rich media e-learning in many cases and then made accessible via the mobile. And we can do that by basically transforming all of the content lesson by lesson to mobile fairly easily, just going through a transformation process, or we can transform portions of it that make sense. It may not make sense to take a whole lesson and transform it. And so what we have here is an example from healthcare training where the stakeholders reviewed all the content in the lesson material and chose a certain portion of the content that had to do with equipment, and that material was transformed for the mobile device, and then the QR codes placed on equipment carts so that when at the point of need, the worker could scan the QR code with their mobile device and pull up the equipment material as a refresher and as a performance support job aid. We can also take that HTML5 based mobile content and bundle it up into a web app. So we see this as part of a smart approach, taking your investment in e-learning and making it accessible to the mobile user, cross-platform support across the iOS, Android, the Blackberries. So let me continue on. As I mentioned, as part of that smart approach, we also see the need for text reference sometimes. We don't need training. We may only need the information, the critical information, either in a print format via PDF or text format via their mobile device. And sometimes that is an important aspect, getting the information quickly, not necessarily the training, but the critical reference material. In terms of the classroom format, we take the e-learning and format it differently on demand, and when it's reformatted, it supports the instructor by going to full screen, getting rid of some of the buttons, increasing the font size, and the instructors actually like to use the same type of interactions that would be done in a web-based training environment. As I mentioned, also part of that smart strategy would be support for informal learning, where the pieces of the original content are available on demand, such as some of the videos that would allow for like a podcasting type of situation. So we can easily extract the material and make it available in those different formats. So how do we do this? Well, the key is single source content, and the way that we do that is we use these forms. Instructional designers think about the content, populate the forms populate the XML, and that XML is the single source that gets transformed in support of HTML5, mobile, interactive training, as well as the rich media, Flash-based content, and all the other formats for the 508 user and the print, etc. As I mentioned, some of the technology is available for transfer to government organizations. We're calling this Expert, XML-based platform for e-learning and rapid training, and various organizations are starting to adopt the technology and implement it in their organizations. It's non-proprietary. It's been evolving rapidly over the last number of years, developed with government funds as well as private research and development funds. We don't have internet access, but I will show you a web page that you can go to, and you can take a look at the original rich media, the 508 accessible version on demand, the HTML5 based version, print versions, as well as instructor versions. So let me show you that website. If you have a QR code reader, you can grab it right now, or you can use this tiny URL to access the site, and take a look at some of the transformed versions. So again, mobile learning, part of a smart strategy where we take the original content and transform it in support of these different formats. So thank you.